Would request everyone to please switch on your cameras. It would be great. Good evening, everyone. Hello. I hope you all are doing well. Today, I'll be your chair. And on behalf of Girls and Diplomacy, it's my distinct pleasure to welcome you all on this special gathering marking the International Day of Women in Diplomacy. Today, we celebrate not only the achievement of women diplomats around the world, but also countless women and girls' leadership, advocacy, and courage continue to shape international affairs and build bridges across the nation. Established by United Nations in 2022, International Day of Women in Diplomacy serve as a reminder that while progress is made significantly, but significantly, women are underrepresented in diplomacy and decision-making spaces globally. Yet every woman who enter these spaces expand the possibility for those who follow. Perhaps that is what community embodies, a commitment to lifting one another, mentoring future leaders, and ensuring that diplomacy reflects diversity of world at its soul. This international this year International Day of Women in Diplomacy reminds us that diplomacy is not merely about negotiation between states. It is about representation. I would request everyone to please keep your mic mute. Diplomacy reminds us it's not merely about negotiation between states. It is about representation, dialogue, empathy, and creating inclusive solutions to global changes. Today, we are privileged to be joined by Ambassador Winnie Kennedy, whose work and commitment empower young women and inspire many young women around the world. Ambassador Kennedy, thank you for being with us and for investing your time and wisdom in the next generation of women leaders. I would like to hand over the mic to Ambassador Kennedy. Have few words.
I thank you, Chair. Good evening, distinguished alumni, fellows, mentors, partners, and members of the Girls in Diplomacy community. It is a privilege to join you today as we commemorate the International Day of Women in Diplomacy. I would like to begin by expressing my appreciation to our Girls in Diplomacy alumni community for hosting this important conversation. The fact that our alumni are now convening discussions, facilitating dialogue, and creating spaces for reflection across our global community is a powerful reminder of why Girls in Diplomacy exist. Today, we gather under the theme Leading Voices. When people think about diplomacy, they often think about ambassadors, foreign ministers, international negotiations, and grand conference halls. And while diplomacy certainly exists in those spaces, diplomacy is fundamentally about something much deeper. Diplomacy is about influence. Diplomacy is about relationship building. Diplomacy is about the ability to bring people together in pursuit of a common purpose. And most importantly, diplomacy is about voice, not simply the ability to speak, but the ability to shape conversations, to influence decisions, to represent communities, to advocate for principles, to build understanding across differences. That is why today's theme is so important because throughout history, progress has often depended on those who chose to use their voices with courage and conviction. Women who negotiated peace, women who challenged exclusion, women who advanced justice, women who opened doors that had long been closed, women who imagined possibilities that others could not yet see. Their voices did not simply enter history, their voices changed history. As we commemorate this day, it is important to remember that the International Day of Women in Diplomacy was formally established by the United Nations in 2022. The creation of this day was not merely symbolic, it was an acknowledgement that diplomacy is stronger when women participate fully. It was a recognition that women have always contributed to diplomacy, even when history did not always recognize their contributions. And it was a call to the international community to ensure that women are not only present in diplomatic spaces, but influential within them. Yet, despite the progress we celebrate, significant challenges remain. Across many diplomatic foreign policy, peace building, and international decision making spaces. Women continue to be underrepresented. Young women continue to question whether they belong in these rooms. Many continue to wonder whether their voices matter. Tonight, I want to answer that question clearly. Yes, your voice matters. Yes, you belong. And yes, the future of diplomacy needs you. But I want to go even further. I want to challenge a belief that many young people carry, the belief that diplomacy is something that begins later, after a degree, after a promotion, after a title, after someone grants permission. The truth is that diplomacy begins rather long before any title. Diplomacy begins when you choose dialogue over division. Diplomacy begins when you listen before you speak. Diplomacy begins when you bring people together around a shared goal. Diplomacy begins when you seek solutions rather than deepen disagreements. Diplomacy begins when you build bridges across cultures, communities, and perspectives. And when I look across the girls in diplomacy community, I see young women doing exactly that every day. I see delegates facilitating conversations across continents. I see our alumni leading initiatives in their communities. I see young women engaging with policy issues, global challenges, and international affairs. I see women who are already practicing diplomacy, not someday, today. That is one of the things I am most proud of about Girls in Diplomacy. We have never viewed young women as leaders of tomorrow alone. We have viewed young women as leaders of today. That belief has shaped our work from the beginning. Today, Girls in Diplomacy has trained and connected more than 1,000 emerging women leaders from across 90 countries. Together, we have created opportunities for young women to engage with ambassadors, diplomats, policymakers, and international organizations. Together, we have built a community that believes leadership is not determined by age, geography, or title. It is determined by vision, commitment, and action. And when I look at this community, I do not see potential alone. I see capability, I see excellence, I see leadership, I see future ambassadors, future foreign ministers, future negotiators, future parliamentarians, future heads of international organizations. But more importantly, I see women who are already contributing to the conversations shaping our world. The challenges facing our global community are significant. Conflict continues to affect millions. Climate change is reshaping societies. Technological transformation is changing how we live, work, and interact. Questions of governance, equity, security, and development remain urgent. No country can solve these challenges alone. No institution can solve them alone, and no single group of people can solve them alone. The future requires cooperation. The future requires inclusion. The future requires diverse perspectives. And that is precisely why your voice matters. Not because you are the leaders of the future, but because you are contributors to the present. As we commemorate the International Day of Women in Diplomacy, I want everyone present listening today to remember one thing. The future is not simply diplomacy. The future is diplomacy shaped by you. Diplomacy informed by your experiences. Diplomacy strengthened by your leadership. Diplomacy enriched by your ideas. Diplomacy transformed by your courage. For too long, women were expected to wait for invitations, to wait for recognitions, to wait for opportunities, to wait for a seat at the table. But your generation is doing something different. You are creating opportunities, you are convening dialogues, you are building networks across borders, you are proposing solutions to global challenges, you are shaping conversations that matter. You are not waiting to participate in diplomacy. You are already participating in diplomacy. And when future generations look back on this moment, I do not want them to see a generation of young women who waited to be included. I want them to see a generation of young women who stepped forward and helped redefine what diplomacy could become. Tonight, I invite each of you to see yourselves differently, not simply as students, not simply as volunteers, not simply as delegates or alumni, but as members of a global diplomatic generation, a generation committed to dialogue, a generation committed to cooperation, a generation committed to service, and a generation committed to ensuring that diplomacy reflects the voices, experiences, and aspirations of all people. And I want you to remember this once again. The future of diplomacy is not waiting for you. The future of diplomacy is already being shaped by you. Every conversation you facilitate, every initiative you lead, every community you serve, every bridge you build, every voice you amplify, these are acts of diplomacy. These are acts of leadership. These are acts of global citizenship. I remain deeply hopeful because when I look at this community, I see far more than a fellowship. I see far more than an organization. I see a movement. I see a network of young women committed to building a more inclusive world. I see a generation that understands that diplomacy is not merely a profession, it is a responsibility to advance understanding where there is division, a responsibility to foster cooperation where there is conflict. So today, let us celebrate women in diplomacy. Let us honor those who came before us. Let us support those who walk alongside us. And let us invest boldly in those who will come after us. Because when women lead, diplomacy becomes stronger. When diverse voices are heard, institutions become more effective. And when young women are empowered to engage fully in global affairs, the world becomes better equipped to address its greatest challenges. I thank you for being part of this movement. I thank you for being part of this community. And I thank you for continuing to be the leading voices our world needs. I would now give the floor to the chair. Thank you.
I think that's a whole suits you. It's like on the description and the intervention. It doesn't really matter. Every moment means something different to each of us. So before we dive into our today conversation, let's hear from everyone. Tell us in one word or one sentence what women in diplomacy means to you. I request the team to please drop the link in the chat box. Okay, so there is no right or wrong answer. It could be a value, feeling, aspiration. So let's just celebrate the diversity of the perspective in this room. And whatever first word or a sentence come to you, just type it down. There is a link. Click on that, and I would request everyone to answer it there. You can see some interesting responses: leadership, power, influence, innovation, active leadership. And honestly, it is whatever we are mentioning and whatever we are not even saying and making up a words. On this, we have let's just move into our next conversation, the special edition of Leading Voices, a fireside chat with Ambassador Kennedy. Thank you all for sharing your responses. I will request the team to spotlight Ambassador Kennedy. No, thank you. Through her remarkable career as a diplomat, global leader, and mentor, and her commitment to the nurturing young women leaders through girls in diplomacy, Ambassador Kennedy has shown that diplomacy extends beyond official title. It is also about empowering voices, creating opportunities, and fostering meaningful connection across borders. We are deeply grateful for your time and look forward to learning from your experiences, reflection, and insight. So, team, could you please spotlight Ambassador? For the team, like while working on a technical glitch, let's just start our conversation, Ambassador. So, Ambassador, every diplomat has its own journey. Could you please take us back into the beginning and share what inspired your path into diplomacy?
I thank you, Miss Qureshi. Um, what inspired my path into diplomacy is something it's quite different. I mean, every diplomat has a backstory, right, to how they joined. diplomacy or how they become a diplomat or became a diplomat rather. But for me, it started very strange, and I had shared on my LinkedIn a couple of months ago that I joined diplomacy by mistake. It wasn't a plan. It wasn't something I was looking to do. Um, just a backstory, I was kind of surfing through the web. I can't even remember what I was looking for. Um, but while surfing through the web, I stumbled upon um, a link to a United Nations Forum event. So I was curious because, of course, at one time, I think in 2020, wanted to join the United Nations. I wanted to work with the UN. I just had this strong conviction at the time to join the UN, but I didn't pursue it. I just left the conviction and then went forward with what I was doing at the time. And so, well, when I saw the link, I clicked on it, I followed through, I filled the form and presented every detail that was needed. And so the first step was shockingly, I got accepted for it. I was surprised, and then I attended the forum and networked. And so I think in summary, that was how my journey started. Quite different, quite strange, quite short. But that's how it started. And then, yeah, just networked most especially. And yeah, just found myself, yeah, in this space.
Looking back, was there a defining movement that shaped your commitment to international affairs?
Yes, yes, actually, there was and there still is. I think it's quite evident with the challenges that are present in the world at the moment. I've been very passionate about the girl child. So it just rekindled the need for, of course, gender equality and gender equity. But most importantly, I think what the defining moment for me was just being a part of diplomacy, being in those rooms, and noticing that there is a gap that is to be filled. A lot of crucial voices, which are voices of the girls, are not present in those rooms. So it challenged me to, implement a solution, come up with it and implement a solution to make things work for young girls and also women as well. I would say that was a redefining moment for me. Yeah.
Even if your journey with you started very differently, but you have been an inspiration for a lot of us. So, Girl in Diplomacy has become a powerful platform for many women. What inspired the creation of Girls in Diplomacy, and what gap were you hoping to address?
Right. The inspiration behind it, like I said, I had been very passionate about girls, and before Girls in Diplomacy had already I've been in the space for close to 10 years. And I've been working with girls in high schools, girls in universities, but not necessarily in diplomacy or international affairs. So I think the major story behind Girls in Diplomacy was one of the meetings that I had attended. And then I noticed when I walked into the room, quite intense. Everyone was suited as always, ready to, engage, ready to, negotiate and so on. And so I noticed in that wonderful room that, like I said, crucial voices were not present. There were a lot of men, as we know, that is prevalent in diplomacy. There were also a lot of boys. Um, Now, when I mean boys, not like high school boys, but at least like young guys. But women and girls were not fully represented in the room. And so it became a thing of concern to me. So I left the room thinking, aside the gap that I have noticed, what could be um, the problem, right, or the stumbling block or the barrier to girls and women not having full representation in those spaces. And one of the things that I came up with was lack of training, lack of opportunities, and so on. And so that propelled me to work on girls in diplomacy. So that's the story. It started with just walking into the room, and then it is continuing with opening the doors to those rooms to the girls that are coming behind.
That's really grateful for that. What impact has been most meaningful for you to witness through this initiative? One thing that is like, really stopping that girl in difference.
There's a lot. I think, but the most part is girls finding their voices, and that's the most part for me. When we have our sessions, just like we're having now, like the fellowship, GID fellowship, the Vanguard fellowship, I see girls engaging and finding their voices once again. Many of them have said we've been looking for a platform where we could speak on issues, that deeply affects us. And I see that there's so much that girls bring to the table. And it's always, I'm always in awe. I'm always surprised. I can never be used to it. I'm always surprised when I see girls and young women. I'm like, how can you think of this? Like, how are you coming up with this? This is amazing. This is wonderful. And I had said one time to some people that the solution that the world is looking for is right in front of us. It is here. We're not looking for, we're looking for change. We're looking for, um, solutions to crisis and all of that. But these solutions are embedded in these girls, right? So when I hear them speak, I'm always inspired. So just them finding their voices and, becoming, or in their journey of becoming, I just see that they're progressing. And of course, we've also had some girls in our network who have been able to, after their fellowship with GID, they've been able to get internship with ministries of affairs and so on. I could remember one of our delegates got an internship in the Ministry of Affairs, Foreign Affairs in Ethiopia. That was very wonderful because, she shared her experience. So, but just in a nutshell, girls finding their voices and finally becoming who, they are meant to be. Yeah, is it?
As you mentioned, there are challenges as issue, and while progress has been made without challenges remain. Where do you see the greatest opportunity for young women entering international affairs today?
I see a lot of opportunities in different aspects of international affairs, um, but I'm very particular about um, not just girls now, but people in general becoming global shapers, right? So not just being a diplomat or joining maybe an international organization, maybe like the United Nations, World Bank, and so on. But by being a community shaper, by being a thought leader in a space, right? So there's so many opportunities. I would begin by saying, even in crisis diplomacy, there is an opportunity there. Also engaging with diplomatic spaces like the United Nations, they have so many platforms that girls can engage with. That could be an entry point into international affairs. And of course, girls in diplomacy also um is a grand one, a great platform that could be an entry point. So there are so many opportunities which time would not even accord us or allow us to enlist all of them.
World are growing and we are also getting digital. In this digital, increasingly digital and interconnected world, which skill do you think will matter most for the next generation diplomats?
Could you repeat that, please?
In an increasingly digital and interconnected world, which skills do you think will matter most for the next generation diplomats?
Oh, yes. The first is negotiation skills. As we know, every diplomat needs to have that, the ability to negotiate. And that ability is non-negotiable. You need to have that, and the ability to adapt. I think that's even more stronger, because in diplomacy, you would face a different environment, if I could use that word, especially when it comes to, when you're in the room and you're negotiating, say for example, you're negotiating with USA, or you're negotiating with um, Ukraine, Russia, for example. um, you should be able to, as a diplomat, be able to read the room and adapt to the room, not firmly stating or standing on your word, but just being able to observe, being able to read the room and adapt quickly. That is a very strong skill that I would advise every diplomat that is entering diplomacy, every upcoming or intending diplomat to have. And one thing I would point, in diplomacy, you're not negotiating with a person, you're negotiating with an entity. So um, myself and the chair, Aisha Qureshi, could be in a room and we're negotiating, but that's not the both of us. She would be representing India, I would be representing Canada, and so we are negotiating between countries, not individuals, because in diplomacy it is about state interest, not personal interest, right? So yeah, that would be it.
My next question is kind of similar to what we asked, specifically on negotiation and diplomacy. So, as we talk about negotiation, diplomacy often require balance and principle of pragmatism. Have you ever navigating a situation where you have to like stay true to your personal values while carrying the responsibility of professionalism? And how did you actually navigate that situation?
Well, I mean, that's very dicey. Yeah. So yeah, of course, there's so many situations, there's so many, scenarios where they have come to play, especially when it comes to morals, right? Aside professionalism, even like, there are some things that the superior, or someone who is above you in diplomatic space would want you to do, and it is against what you stand for. But in diplomacy, you can't contend. You can't say, I'm not going to do this. You just have to do it. Um, and so those scenarios have come. I would like to paint a picture, but it's best I just leave it blank for now. So how I've been able to do that is to understand that we have a shared goal, right? And the ability for me to, that's also where my negotiation skills comes to play. There are several steps where I had to, that I had to undergo or take in order to make sure that what I believe in is done. Um, so in a nutshell, how I've been able to, curtail that or walk across that is to speak directly to the people above me, and, make them understand that we're not contending against a person, we're not contending against an individual. It's about shared interest, it's about state interest. and um, I think I've just been able to convince them, and they've been able to listen to me. I think I've been good at that. That's just the way I've been able to scale through. Nothing too dramatic happened, but the ability for them to believe in my leadership, believe in my thought process, believe in what I stand for. It's just helped me to scale through.
Really interesting. So, if you could speak to your younger self at the beginning of your career when you entered diplomacy, what would you tell her?
I will tell her, don't wait, go for it. Um, don't ask for permission, don't wait for permission. Um, my younger self was quite bold. Um, so she wouldn't be shocked to hear this, but um, of course, I see my younger self as well in many of us here. But I would say don't wait for permission, go for it. Don't be scared to take bold steps. And there is no height that is too high for you to reach. Just go for it, no matter how high you think it may be. As long as there is a calculation to that height, it means that it can be reached. So you should reach there. You should go for it. So that would be what I'll tell her.
What do you wish someone had told you when you first entered into diplomacy?
That diplomacy is not like every other profession. Diplomacy is there's so many indices to it. Like a doctor can be, of course, every profession has their procedures, have, the way they work and so on. But diplomacy is less about practices and more about credibility, the indices that make you stand out, which is visibility, credibility and visibility most especially. And there are so many, it's quite dicey. It's not like every other profession. So there's a way you approach things in diplomacy that is different from being a lawyer, for example. Of course, there's international law, not ruling that out, but as a diplomat, not just an international civil servant, but a diplomat, there's a way you not only carry yourself, but the mindset that you carry as well has to be different. You have to carry a winning mindset and also, I wouldn't call it a losing mindset, but an ability to adapt mindset. And so that mindset is always in play whenever you're in these rooms, and being cautious of perception, being cautious of credibility, being cautious of visibility as well. So yeah, that would be.
Really? I know, like diplomacy has evolved since you began it. Like particularly, what are the pointers and you could see like the major differences from the day you started it, and since now we have like technology, AI, so many things happening around. So, what are the major changes that happen, particularly for women?
For women, I wouldn't say I've seen much changes. Um, Honestly, there haven't been much, and this is something that I would also like to tender to, women that are in those rooms. There's not so much that has been done for women in diplomacy. Of course, There've been, I mean, in recent times, if I'm to move away from women and just go to, youth in general, I have seen an advancement in opportunities. I see a lot of young people now being able to engage in diplomatic affairs, especially United Nations. I have seen that, young people now kind of have access to those rooms, unlike before, that the voices of young people were not, either neither represented nor even, consulted. So that would be the advancement I have seen in, in terms of youth. But for women, I haven't seen much, and that is what we are working, to achieve, that girls are not just represented, but are leaders, right? That's the goal, that they don't just become, you know, don't just sit at the table, but they make decisions, right? They are decision makers on those makers on those tables. So that would be the advancement that I would hope to see. But for what I have seen, I haven't seen much in terms of women in diplomacy, sadly.
Progress. Hope.
Yes.
Looking ahead, what changes would you like to see in diplomacy over the next decade?
Oh, over the next decade, I think the next decade is actually too far. I would even break it down to 5 years. Um, because I mean, I would want to see, progress as quick as possible. I would want to see more young women trained and ready to engage in diplomatic affairs. Um, there's so much that is happening. I would love to speak more on this, but there's so much disadvantage to women when it comes to diplomacy now. Take for example, of course, women are not fully represented. We know that. Um, we are not able to engage in situations of hard power, which is something that, the global community needs to talk about. Say, for example, when it comes to military interventions, when it comes to, hard power, those decisions are made by men, not by women. And we see that in the ambassadorship pipeline, when it comes to strong countries like United States and other countries that are strong, the global north, women are not at the forefront of those countries. They are not made ambassadors to those countries. So, but when it comes to, smaller countries, member states make women their representatives. So they make ambassadors, or women, the ambassadors of smaller countries for the global south and all of that. But when it comes to, the global north, is mainly men who are the ambassadors. So I would like to see that change in 5 years. And what we are building in GID is by 2030, we're working to train and position 100,000 girls in diplomacy by 2030. So that would be what I want to see. I want to see more girls represented, more girls in leadership spaces, more girls in policy, more girls talking about diplomacy seasonally. I'm not just talking about it by copying and pasting ChatGPT, not that, but knowing what they are saying. I want to see strong voices who bring their solutions to the table and not just hide behind the scenes and, say, um, just hide behind the scenes and being shy and being timid and saying, I don't know what is going to happen. So I'm just going to keep my voice low. I want to see girls with strong voices on those tables, in those rooms, making those decisions, and not as a competition. I think I would also want to put this out because I see a lot of girls say, I want to be better than a boy. I want to be, I mean, we can coexist, right? The thing is, like I always say in GID, these people are your colleagues. They would be your colleagues. So you can't say you're better than them. You can't fight them. We're not there to fight them, right? They are our contemporaries. They're not our competitors. So you bring your value. That's what's important. Bring your value, do what you can do what's best at every given time. Make sure that you are maximizing your full potential at every given time. Every time you have the opportunity to speak, speak as if that's the last time you will be given that opportunity. Speak with boldness, speak with conviction, speak like you know what you are saying. So that's most important, and also be a solution um, provider, be solution driven. always look for problems. That's what I do whenever I go into a room, wherever I step in. I tend to look for the gap. I tend to look for problems wherever. I mean, I don't go out shading people, but I just observe. I stay in the room, or I'm on the streets, or I'm walking. I'm thinking, okay, what is the gap? If I'm in a new place, what's the gap here that I could solve? And once the gap is found, once the problem is found, I tend to bring a solution, because the global community are looking for solution, driven people, solution providers, but not solution that have already been provided, if I could use the word. So in order for you to stand out, you have to provide solution, but provide it well. So there's steps to that. Um, you can provide a solution, or you can figure out a solution and see if someone else had created that or had provided that, and then you improve on it, right? So bring up innovations, bring your creativity into play. That's what the global community is looking for. And I mean, that's what I want to see. That's what I want to see. Solution drivers, solution providers, not just people who talk about the problems, who complain about the problems and are not willing to take action. So I would want to see that, or those people, by 2030.
After today, each one of us present here start taking action to make this stay a reality and contribute to a little step. Thank you, Ambassador, for all your answers. They are really insightful and another way of inspiring us in our lives. So now we are going to shift gears a little bit and get into our rapid fire segment. Please answer in one word or one sentence and as briefly as you can. The first question for you is one book every aspiring diplomat should read.
Oh, my book, Breaking into Diplomacy, a strategic guide to um, international affairs professionals. Sorry, that skipped me. Yeah.
One leader who inspires you.
Um, Myself.
Oh,
I hope that's not selfish, but yeah.
great. Your most memorable diplomatic experience.
Um, the the last presidential, the Secretary General, the questioning for the United Nations Secretary General, the last dialogue that we had. Yeah.
One myth about diplomacy.
One myth, that diplomacy is fun and it's all glamorous. It's not, really.
What's one negotiation skill you wish more people value?
Could you repeat that, please?
What's one negotiation skill you wish more people value? That we have a different kind of negotiation. So
Yeah,
what?
I would also add, I would add the ability to adapt. I think that's my major. It's also a form of negotiation as well.
Country that left a lasting impression on you.
Do you repeat that?
A country that left a lasting impression on you.
Ethiopia. Can I say countries? Ethiopia and Rwanda.
You can. Three qualities of a good diplomat.
Ability to negotiate, ability to speak up, and ability to network.
What's one piece of advice you would return to often?
Um, Try again.
What's one thing people would be surprised to learn about diplomacy?
That it's not all glamorous. Yeah,
What bring you the greatest hope for future of women in diplomacy?
everyone here.
Thank you so much, Ambassador, for your generosity and for all your answer. And we would like to open the floor questions from audience. Please raise your hands if you have any question, and I'll call out your name. Please be mindful that you will only be having 2 minutes to ask your question. So keep it very precise and concise. Miss Leticia, the floor is yours. I could see you have a question in the chat box. And whoever wants to ask a question, please raise your hand. Yeah.
Hi everyone. Hello. Hi, Miss Winnie. Well, thank you so much for today for this opportunity to participate as well. So my question, although you have answered it a little bit, I would just read my question. So if you could please tell us more about the age factor. I know that in today's world we are pressured to achieve a lot by such a young age. So do you have any advice for young people that are trying to find themselves? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Miss Costa. This is a beautiful and important question. One of the greatest pressures facing young people today is the belief that life is a race. We live in a world where, achievements are constantly visible. Every day we see headlines, especially on LinkedIn, we see headlines about someone becoming a CEO at 25 or a minister or a founder or a diplomat at a remarkably young age. While these stories are, or they can be inspiring, they can also create the impression that success has an expiration date. And I do not believe that leadership has an age requirement. I believe leadership has a readiness requirement. So some people discover their purpose at 18, others discover it at 28, 38, or even later. So neither journey is more valuable than the other. What matters is not how quickly you arrive. What matters is that you continue moving forward with intention. So for those who are still, trying to find themselves, I would encourage you to give yourself permission to explore. You do not need to have every answer today. You do not need to, know exactly what your career will look like in 10 years from now. Of course, I know that we all need certainty, but you do not need to compare your timeline to someone else's. Many of the most impactful leaders that I know and that I've heard of did not begin with certainty, they began with curiosity. Same thing with me as well. So they asked questions, they explored opportunities, just as I had shared earlier. I saw a link, I was just up in the web and I saw a link and I decided to click on it and then I applied, right? So they learned from failure, they discovered themselves through experience. And, I often tell young women in our community that your 20s and even beyond are not only for proving yourself, they are also for discovering yourself. So allow yourself to learn, allow yourself to evolve, give yourself grace, right? Allow yourself to change your mind as you gain new experiences because the goal is not to become successful as quickly as possible. The goal is to become the person you are meant to be and to use your gifts in service of something meaningful. And from a diplomatic perspective, I would add this. Good diplomats are not defined by how early they achieved success. They are defined by wisdom, judgment, emotional intelligence, cultural understanding, and the ability to build trust. These qualities take time, to develop. So if you feel that you are still finding yourself, I do not want you to see that as a weakness. I want you to see it as part of the journey. Continue learning, continue showing up, continue saying yes to opportunities that help you grow. Your path does not, which is very important, it does not have to look like anyone else's. And I want everyone to remember as well that the world does not need you to become someone else faster, right? The world needs you to become the fullest version of yourself. And when that happens, your voice becomes authentic, your leadership becomes credible, and your impact becomes lasting. So that is far more important than achieving something by a particular age. So that would be my advice.
Thank you, Ambassador, for your mention, and thank you, Delegate Ms. Costa, for your question. Delegate Ms. Mikano, the floor is yours.
Hi, greetings everyone. Please, I'm Jennifer from Ghana, and I want to thank you all for this opportunity. As a young graduate just completing Master's in International Relations and Diplomacy, I'm encouraged by Ambassador's journey so far, and I'm just asking if possibly there will be a platform for a person like me who wants to be a mentee, if that will be possible, because I will learn more from Ambassador. Thank you.
Hi, Jennifer. Yes, of course. There will be, or there is, an opportunity. The GID team would communicate to you, they'll reach out to you, and then we can take it up from there.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm grateful.
Ms. Vada Mikano, the floor is yours. You can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay, thank you. Hello, my name is Wada. I'm grade 9 student in Ethiopia Girls Boarding School, and this fireside chat is so inspiring. And Ambassador Kennedy said we shouldn't wait for titles or permissions to practice diplomacy, and that is completely inspiring. I have envisioned starting a diplomacy club at my girls' boarding school here in Ethiopia for the last 2 years. Hearing about how girls in diplomacy has reached 90 countries makes me want to make my school next chapter. I really need girls in diplomacy help and guidance to make this happen. Could you or someone from your team help me or contact me at my email wadamercana025@gmail.com to share the official process, blueprints, or a chapter starter kit? I would love to bring your global network to my school. Thank you.
I thank you, Miss Makarna. Yeah, the team would reach out to you.
Okay.
Okay,
We have
thanks.
a lot of question in your comment, and I cannot see the raised hand of those delegates. So I will pass on to you. Ms. Fatima asked, if you could convey a single message to next generation of women leaders in diplomacy, what would it be?
I thank you for that. If I could convey a single message to the next generation of women leaders in diplomacy, it would be this: do not spend your life waiting for permission to lead. I think I've said that a couple of times today. And it's important I reiterate that because we're all coming from different backgrounds, and there's so much disadvantage that's been accorded to the woman, right? That it's almost impossible, or it's almost impossible to fully become who you're meant to be, right, without taking permission. Especially for example, like countries like Afghanistan, seeing what the Taliban is doing, right? Women they've been they've been positioned to shrink themselves, before any major decision or any major opportunity is explored, they have to take permission. And we also see this in the global south. And this is not just um, in diplomacy, but in general, like even in homes, right? Girls are meant to take permission to do big things, right? Even in their friend circle. So they've been wired, right, to always seek permission before they could lead. So it's important that I reiterate that women or the next generation of women leaders must not wait for permission to lead. And too often women are taught to wait until they feel completely ready, completely qualified, or completely certain before stepping forward. But leadership does not begin when you have all the answers. It begins when you are willing to take responsibility for making a difference. So it's important that you know that your voice matters now, or the next generation, as I'm referring to them. The next generation needs to know that their voice matters, their ideas matters now, their perspectives matters now. And the world is facing challenges that require new thinking, diverse experiences, and courageous leadership. So I would want them to not underestimate the value of what they bring to the table. And they need to always remember that their goal should not simply be to occupy a seat in diplomacy. The goal should be to shape diplomacy, just as I said earlier, to make diplomacy more inclusive, more representative, more responsive, and most importantly, more reflective of the world we aspire to build. We need those tables to reflect, right, or to have full representation and reflect the world we aspire to build. So the future, like I said, also is not simply diplomacy. The future is diplomacy that is shaped by us and the next generation of women leaders.
Ms. Kuntal asks, what is the best way to break into field of diplomacy for someone who has zero experience in that field and zero connections?
Well, the first thing is to start where you are. One of the biggest misconceptions about diplomacy is that you need connections before you begin, while in reality, you build connections by beginning, right? And like I said, in one of my response to one of the questions, that I see that there's kind of there are more opportunities for engagement now for entrance into diplomacy compared to years ago. So engaging with United Nations Youth Affairs, you can check them up on LinkedIn or Instagram. They usually post opportunities for youth to engage. There's United Nations Major Group for Children and Youth. They also post opportunities as well. So just start where you are. The first step is to develop knowledge. Read about international affairs, foreign policy, global governance. Say, for example, few days ago, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom he resigned, right? Did you know about that? Did you research more about it? Did you see it on or in social media, and did you look it up? So you need to know more about global governance, what's happening in countries, peace building, development, and the issues shaping our world, because diplomacy rewards those who are informed and intellectually curious. And the second step also is to gain experience wherever you can. And the experience does not have to begin at an embassy or international organization. It can begin through volunteering, policy research, advocacy initiatives, GID, Girls in Diplomacy, Model United Nations, community leaderships, and so on. And then the final step I would say is to build relationships internationally and also intentionally. So networking is not about collecting contacts, right? As we are meant to think. It is about building genuine professional relationships. So attend events just as we have attended here. You can connect in the chat, ask thoughtful questions just as we're already doing, engage respectfully with professionals and stay connected. There's LinkedIn, follow professionals on LinkedIn. I always advise the girls in our network, don't joke with LinkedIn. LinkedIn is so important for a diplomat and also for a professional. So go on LinkedIn, send a message to that diplomat that you want to connect with, and then, just stay connected. And most importantly, do not wait until you feel qualified to enter the field. Many people believe they need experience before they can apply for opportunities, while in reality, opportunities are often how you gain experience in the first place. So I would also encourage you to remember that diplomacy is a field built on credibility and consistency. So a person who, for example, spends 2 years actively learning, volunteering, writing, participating in programs, and engaging with global issues will often be far more competitive than someone who simply waits for the perfect opportunity. And of course, every diplomat started somewhere. Every expert was once a beginner. So do not focus on what you lack today. Focus on what you can start building today. Because experience can be gained, connections can be built, knowledge can be acquired, and what matters most is the willingness to begin.
Miss Bimbai N, the floor is yours. Um, Miss Atishi, I hope I'm naming correct. The floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. I have a question for the ambassador, and my question is about articulation. I wanted to ask if were you this articulate from the start, or it was something you built over the years? Because I struggle a lot with that, and I would like to ask if there's any advice you can give in terms of being able to articulate one's ideas in a coherent way without, mumbling. Thank you.
I thank you, Ms. Alatishe. Um, well, I've been active in this space for close to um, almost 10 years. So it has helped me to build my articulation and all of that. Um, so, well, I wasn't fully articulate, but just by consistency and consistently speaking, I was able to be this articulate. But I found something online a couple of months ago where it's in order for you to be articulate, the speaker had said that one has to, it's just something you can practice in your homes. You can put a pen in between your lips and read a book, like try to speak on something or read a book out loud. And so when you do it consistently, you're able to connect your mind and your mouth. So you can practice that as well. Though I haven't practiced it, honestly, but I see it as it's very key. It would help in articulation. So that would be my advice. And also just consistently practicing in front of the mirror as well. And that's also a concept that a lot of people use. You can pick up a topic and just speak on it. Just you alone in the room talking to the mirror, not looking at any book or something, just talking to the mirror. That as well. And then thirdly, I would say there's also a concept, I think by Ving Kai. It's an Asian um, public speaking coach. He says you can pick up your phone and record yourself speaking about a topic. Yeah, just speak about it, anything you say is fine. Just keep talking about that topic, and then maybe for 5 minutes, maybe for 3 minutes, and then you pause it. Once you pause it, then listen to it or watch it with the volume down. So watch your gestures, like the hand movements and so on. And also after watching it with the volume down, the next thing to do is to put the phone down and just listen to your voice. Just to know your cadence, hear your voice tones, and so on. So it just helps you to adjust and become a better speaker and also speak with articulation. So that would be my advice. Thank you. Yes, I see Vin Yang. Yes. Thank you.
Miss Mumbai N, floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. So to our Honorable Ambassador, I believe before you ventured into diplomacy, you are pursuing something else. And considering that diplomacy is not all roses, was there a moment in time whereby, or sorry, a certain point whereby things got hard to such an extent that you thought maybe you shouldn't have ventured into diplomacy, or maybe you should have pursued the other career that you're doing before diplomacy? I'm asking this from a background that there are often times whereby I think a lot, as in, will this work out? What I'm trying to build on my own. Of course, I've engaged with girls in diplomacy and everything, but then there are certain times whereby like I get skeptical and just anxious if everything will turn out perfectly fine. Thank you.
I thank you, Delegate Vimbai. So great to see you. For me, I would say, I think what helps me, I mean, of course, those moments have come, especially in diplomacy. I think even though one of the most difficult parts of diplomacy is the constant traveling, right? You're always moving, you're always on the go, and sometimes it can be exhausting. You're traveling between countries, between states, and it's just a lot. It could be a lot sometimes. And even in building girls in diplomacy as well, of course, it hasn't been 100% rosy. But what helps me is understanding that for me, diplomacy is not a career. It's not just a career. It's a responsibility, and it's strictly tied to my purpose, right? So I know my purpose. Like I have a clear vision statement by the grace of God for my life, and I pursue that. And whatever I'm working on per time is tied to my purpose. So it helps me to stay grounded. And even if maybe there are times where you want to think that, oh, are you sure is it really worth it? Maybe I could just, maybe someone else. I can just stay back. Um, but I always come back to my why. Why did I start this? Why am I doing this? So the why is very important for me. So understanding that what you are building is connected to your purpose. And one of your goal in life is to achieve your purpose, right? So it's important that we remove sentiments, we remove emotions. I intentionally black out my emotions when it comes to, my purpose. There are times where you're forced to give up, you're forced to cry, you're tired. Of course, if you're tired, you can rest, but don't give up. So in those situations, when I'm faced with those situations, I just come back to my why and understand that I'm not doing this because I found diplomacy to be an avenue to connect with people of power, or an avenue to wear glamorous clothes and have people salute and all of that. The main reason why I am here is because I am in my purpose. I'm working in my purpose. So that's most important. So just the thing that the advice I would give is tend to look at what you are doing and ask yourself, is this connected to my life's purpose? If it's connected to it, then go for it, then continue with it. And of course, when it comes to purpose, life is not fair. There are challenges that would come. And it's also something I want to let every girl know that challenges are normal, right? They are not something that shouldn't happen to you because you're beautiful, because you're amazing, you're a good person. So I shouldn't face challenges. I have a good heart. I'm building something that would affect generations. So challenges shouldn't come. It's gonna be ironic because life's challenges are bound to happen. So what I do is I prepare myself for them, right? As in diplomacy, we would say not just crisis prevention, not just crisis diplomacy, but crisis prevention, preparing yourself for that, the crisis that would come, the low funding, maybe there's no funding, maybe there are no people willing to volunteer or something, or maybe the stakeholders involved are not, they're not pulling their weight as they're supposed to, or, the community chiefs or whoever you're trying to build for and with, they're not cooperating with you, and sometimes it can be frustrating. Just understand this, like go with the mindset and prepare yourself that this would happen. So prepare a counter attack ahead of time. So this would happen in a case where this happens. This should be what I would do in that case. So that's the model that I run with. I have the mindset of I'm working in my purpose, challenges will come, but there is no better person to build what I'm building than me. There is no better person to build what you are building than you. And you didn't stumble on it by mistake. It was ordained for you to do it. So there is grace for you to do it. There is capacity in you. There is potential in you to do it. So you must understand that I have that potential. I have that capacity to solve it. That is why I am the one that is doing it. So that's the mindset that I run with, and I think it will be best for you to run with as well.
Delegate Adisai, the floor is yours. Delegate Adisai, are you here?
Hello.
Yes. Miss Masika, the floor is yours.
I'm trying to raise my hand too.
Christine Masika. I guess Christine Masika is here. I will read her question. For professionals transitioning from humanitarian, legal, or policy background into diplomacy, what entry point would you recommend, and how would you extend support a professional with this background?
Okay, thank you for that question. For professionals transitioning from humanitarian, legal or policy backgrounds into diplomacy, I would begin with simply framing or reframing that you are not starting from zero. Actually, I transitioned from humanitarian to humanitarian background into diplomacy. So people often think you're starting from zero. So I would, want to reframe that you are not starting from zero, you are translating existing expertise into a different institutional language. Diplomacy is not a closed profession, right? It is a convergence of skills drawn from law, development, public policy, economics, human rights, security, and humanitarian work. So many people already operating in those sectors are in practice doing diplomatic work without formally carrying the title. So the key is understanding where diplomacy actually happens. And of course, it happens in multilateral negotiations within international organizations. It happens in humanitarian coordination spaces where governments, non-governmental organizations, international non-governmental organizations, and agencies align responses. And it also happens in policy advisory environments where national positions are shaped. And of course, it happens in advocacy spaces where norms and agreements are influenced. So for someone with a humanitarian, legal, or policy background, the entry points are less about starting over and more about repositioning, right? So a few practical pathways will stand out. And first would be multilateral and international organizations. So agencies within the United Nations, we have WHO, for example, we have UNICEF, of course, regional bodies and development institutions. They often recruit professionals with exactly these backgrounds into policy, program, protection, legal and external relations roles. So these are direct, proximity points to diplomatic practice. And second, government's advisory and technical roles. So ministries of foreign affairs of countries, of course, justice, trade, development, and so on, they frequently bring in subject matter experts to support negotiations. So you see someone say, I'm a strategic advisor to governments. Even in my bio, you would see that on LinkedIn. So these people have worked with governments as a subject matter experts. So of course, you're going to engage in treaty interpretation, policy drafting, and bilateral engagement. You need to be informed about these words that I'm talking about in order for you to fully, grasp the role and work in diplomacy as well. And third, there's a lot, but third, I would say international non-governmental organizations and humanitarian coordination mechanisms. So while they are not always labeled as diplomacy, these spaces often function as diplomatic interfaces between states, agencies, and affected populations. They are strong transitional environments. And of course, think tanks, which are my favorite, think tanks and policy institutes. So these institutions as well shape the ideas that later become diplomatic positions. They are what I call influence nodes within the broader diplomatic ecosystem. And finally, fellowships, programs just like GID fellowship, secondments, these are often the most direct bridges for professionals shifting into formal diplomatic tracks because they place individuals inside institutions temporarily, allowing them to build networks and demonstrate capability. And on the question of support for professionals making this transition, support must be both strategic and structural. So structurally or strategically first, it involves helping them translate their experience into diplomatic competencies. So this means reframing humanitarian coordination, legal analysis, or policy design into language that reflects negotiation, multilateral engagement, and cross-cultural communication. And then structurally, it involves access to networks, right? Just as I had said earlier, networking is very important in diplomacy, visibility as well, and opportunities. Many capable professionals that I know are excluded not because they lack skill, right? But because they lack proximity to decision-making ecosystems. So of course, this is where girls in diplomacy becomes important. So support is not only as inspirational or aspirational with this practice. So in GID, we include mentorship from individuals already working in diplomatic and multilateral spaces. So yeah, I think that'll be it. The main thing is to reposition yourself with clarity, confidence, and intentionality within the diplomatic ecosystem.
Today's last question. Delegate Sunul Lalit, floor is yours. And I am dropping alumni relation and girls in diplomacy email ID. If any delegate wants to ask a question and due to time the frame could not ask, they can write to us and we'll pass it on to Ambassador and get back to you. Delegate Kusulali, the floor is yours.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Good evening.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, my question is, apart from this virtual section, this class we're having on Zoom, in our communities, in our states, in our countries, are we going to be given assignments to carry out physically, then send proofs? Or what are the practical skills we would likely to be running to show what and what we have been taught and really understood from this section? Is there going to be a practical stuff that we need to bring back to this team? That's my question.
Thank you very much, Miss Osolale. Right, this is a fireside chat just for the commemoration of International Day of Women in Diplomacy. So we do not need to bring back any reports or community activity to us. Of course, you can implement in your community what you've learned here today, and we'll be happy to see the progress and possibly support you. But in our fellowships, we engage our delegates to carry out capstone projects that they implement in their communities. So if you happen to be a part of any of our fellowships, you can engage with that. And as well, GID is opening up what we call missions in several countries in the coming week or weeks. So you can engage directly with the leadership of those or leadership in your countries and work together to carry out community activities based on what you learn in that space. So yeah, that would be my answer.
Thank you. Well, with that, we will come to the end of our fireside chat. So the chat is open. If anybody wants to share their LinkedIn ID or Instagram, please feel free to drop it. It's a great time to network. And if you want, you can follow each other. We're very comfortable. And I would like now like to call Ambassador for the final remarks with one final question to ask. What message would you leave for every young girl who dreams of influencing the world? Floor is yours.
Could you repeat that, please?
What message would you leave for every young girl who dreams of influencing the world?
Mm. Well, I mean, I'm very particular about this. I don't want to jump into it. The message or messages I would like to leave for every girl who dreams of influencing the world is to not reduce her dreams to what is currently reachable or what currently feels reachable. And why I say that is there are girls in the global south in like maybe a small village and her dreams she has been conditioned to shrink her dreams to what is reachable in that community or in that village or in that country, so my simple message would be do not reduce your dreams to what currently feels reachable. And also I would go further to say that the world that you want to influence was not built by people who waited until everything was certain, comfortable, or fully defined. it was shaped by individuals who decided that their ideas, their voice, and their presence mattered enough to step forward before the path was clear. And secondly, you do not need to wait until you are older, more experienced, or more confident to begin engaging with the world around you. Influence is not reserved for a future version of yourself. It begins in how you think, how you speak, how you show up, and how you respond to the issues you care about today. And of course, you'll be told directly or indirectly to be realistic. But I would want her, right, to understand that realism without imagination limits progress. So the world needs people who can see beyond what exists and still choose to act, right? There will be moments where you or she, in quotes, question whether her voice carries weight. In those moments, I would want her to remember that influence is not always immediate or visible. Some of the most meaningful contributions begin quietly through learning, consistency, service, and persistence. And also, do not measure your worth by how quickly recognition comes. This is important. Um, she would need to measure it by how faithfully she continues to grow, by how faithfully she contributes and engage the world that she wants to change. And of course, do not underestimate what you already carry. This is important. You don't need to be another person to influence your world, to propel the change that you want to bring. You already carry something heavy, something that the world needs, right? So do not underestimate it and say, oh, I'm smart. And so it's nothing. There's so many smart people around. Or I'm able to dissect challenges and provide solutions. It's no big deal. There's so many people that do that. Do not underestimate what you already carry. And I always say, just as our fingerprints are different, so are our purpose, so are what we carry different or unique, right? So there's a particular problem in the world that you are meant to solve. And so you have the unique blueprint for that problem to be solved. So you carry the solution. So do not underestimate what you already carry. Your perspective matters because it is shaped by experiences no one has ever lived. Your questions matter because they challenge assumptions. Your ideas matter because they may open paths that do not yet exist. So if there is one thing I want her to hold on to or you to hold on to is that you are not too small to influence the world. And the world is not too fixed, in quotes, to be changed by you. Start where you are. Use what you have, the social media now. You don't need to make videos. You can make carousels. Um, you can write on blogs. You can use op-eds, submit op-eds to, digital newspapers or magazines and so on. Just use what you have. Speak even when your voice feels uncertain. Learn even when the path is unclear. And just keep moving. There's a quote that says, a man who is always on the move will meet his fate. So a man now means both gender. A moving man will always meet his fate. So the more you move, you always meet opportunities. You will always meet doors that will be open onto you. So don't be stagnant. Don't be still. Just keep moving. And even when progress feels slow, because you know influence is not a destination you arrive at. It is a practice that you commit to. And the world will always be shaped by those who decide to practice it. So, yeah, that would be my answer to that.
so much, Ambassador Kennedy, for your time and for such interventions and highlight. It was so inspiring the meeting. It was a pleasure to have you here and have this fireside chat with you. I would now quickly request all the participants who are comfortable to please switch on your camera. We'll have a quick picture before we conclude our session. Please switch on your camera. You just have 2 seconds. Just quickly switch on and then you can shut it off. Only if you are comfortable. Sita, can you just keep your screen a little bit? I can't clearly see your face. Will work. Yeah, it's perfect. Thank you. Great. Yeah, done. I would now like to invite Delegate Mughal for the closing remarks.
Thank you, our chair. Please confirm if you can hear me loud and clear.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. So my name is Delegate Mugo, and I'm the Director of Communication in the Alumni Council. But today at this moment, I have the privilege to wear the hat of our chair, Delegate Bon, who is not able to attend this meeting today. So I will be giving the closing remarks on her behalf. And yeah, so happy to see you all. And as we bring today's fireside chat to a close, I'd like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our Ambassador, Winnie Kennedy, for sharing her time, her experiences, her insights with us, and also for enduring our endless questions, because I could see that there's still more questions coming your way. But nevertheless, you endured all through, and we appreciate you for that. And even your reflections on leadership, on diplomacy, has been both inspiring and thought provoking. I mean, myself, I feel both inspired today and challenged at the same time. And I'm quite sure that my fellow delegate can attest to this. So we've been reminded today that diplomacy is not only about representing nation. I mean, it's not that glamorous that we know and think of, but it's about building bridges, fostering inclusivity, and also creating pathways for meaningful change. And today, as we commemorate the International Day of Women in Diplomacy, we celebrate women who continue to break barriers, to lead with purpose, and to contribute to peace and cooperation. And we are also reminded of the importance of creating spaces where young women can learn, grow, and envision themselves as future leaders in diplomacy and international affairs. And in particular, our Honorable Ambassador Winnie, who has brought our dream into diplomacy closer to reality by mentoring us, by bringing the established women in diplomacy to our close proximity. I mean, most of us have interacted with various diplomats, with various ambassadors across the world, and we've been able to access their advice and their guidance. So we thank you for that. And to all our GID delegates who are here today, we recognize you, and we appreciate you for being here. And I'm also aware that we also have other participants who are not from, from the GID fellowship. So we thank you for joining us for today, and we're really glad to have spent the time with you in this session. And yeah, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for being part of this important conversation. And we hope that you leave this session feeling more inspired to pursue excellence, to pursue leadership, and to serve in your respective field. And last but not least, to our chair for today, Delegate Aisha, please feel very much appreciated because you've worked tirelessly and your dedication to making this day happen. I mean, I know what you've been through the past few days, and also for facilitating this session so excellently. So receive your flowers, Delegate Aisha. And as I conclude, on behalf of the Girls in Diplomacy Alumni Council and our chair, Delegate Bond in her absentia, thank you once again, our Honorable Ambassador Winnie, for your invaluable contribution today and for helping us mark this important occasion. So have a wonderful evening, a wonderful morning from wherever you're watching this from. And we look forward to connecting with you again, Honorable Ambassador, at future GID events. And if there's no any addition from Chair Delegate Aisha, I would now love to bring this meeting to an end. Thank you.
I guess we should just have one GIDO. That would be great if you can do that because we have been doing it. And it would be like really interesting for other participants who are not from GID to know that we have something like this. So I would request everyone to like raise their hand, the virtual hand which we have you raised for the question, and I will read the oath and then you can read the oath. As a delegate of Girls and Diplomacy, I solemnly commit to lead with empathy, speak with integrity, and serve with purpose. I pledge to place people before policy, to act with courage, dignity, and grace, and to uphold diplomacy that is inclusive, honorable, and transformative. I will honor our global sisterhood and strive always to lead with value, not title. This is my calling. This is my commitment to peace, justice, and a better world. I adjourn today's session. Thank you everyone for joining. Have a good night.
All right, thank you. Have a good night. I mean, good evening. It's evening here in the US.